Welcome to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. Join us as we share our favorite RPGs, one-shot games, tabletop games, reviews, and convention panels. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion to Ragnarok story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and RPGpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
Get started here? Yes. Nice. Thank you for coming. This is pretty much fight scenes and how to tell a story with them. Movies aren't just, fight scenes aren't just to fight in a movie. You've seen a lot of maybe martial arts movies, you've seen a lot of action movies where there's fighting and you're like, okay, that's cool, but like, why are they fighting? Okay, so let's take, for instance, everyone here has seen John Wick, right? Okay, the reason he's doing what he's doing is why? His dog got killed, right? And that's what set him over the edge. So the whole movie, the reason why he's doing all that is because he has a purpose. His dog was murdered by these guys. His car was stolen, but what did it was his dog. So he's not just going saying, okay, I see this guy, let me shoot him. I see this guy, let me beat him up. He's not doing that. There's a purpose behind everything he's doing, every move that he's doing, why he's using his gun at that moment, why he's deciding to punch this guy at that moment. You'll see also, when you're telling a story with fight choreography, it has to literally make sense. For instance, let's just say, what's your name? Erica. Let's say me and Erica are in a scene, and we had an argument, the day before in this in another scene, and we're gonna fight it out. So, do I just walk up to her and punch her? No. I walk up to her like, hey, do you remember that argument we just had? Yeah, I didn't really like that argument. Okay, and it's gonna lead to her saying something, and then that gives us that reason that we're fighting. We're not just, oh, okay, well, I see you in the streets, I'm gonna fight you. We don't do any of that stuff. We had to have it make sense. And also, for instance, you see a martial arts movie, you'll see a guy point at another guy, and that's obviously in every martial arts movie they're gonna fight because the guy points. That's just what it is. So the guy points. You'll see the reaction, and Jackie Chan does this a lot. You'll see the reaction to that finger. So the guy points, the other guy looks at it, looks back at the guy. That's the reason to fight. He's telling that story, like, well, you just insulted me by pointing at me and yelling at me. So, Jackie Chan or whoever is not just going up to the guy. The guy's not just going to walk up and just, boom, I'm hitting you because I want to challenge you. He's going to, oh, you killed my father, or you did this, and it's that point that initiates the story of that fight. Point, look back, we're fighting. And everyone knows why, because that guy, Erica pointed at me. I already knew that we were enemies, but that moment you pointed at me is the moment we're engaging. And the audience knows, it's like, uh-oh, he pointed, or she pointed at him. They're going to fight, let's sit back, So already there's a story behind it, okay? You don't just see punching, kicking, guns, just cause. I can just I can write a scene in a film. A guy walks up and shoots 10 people. Why? I'm looking at the script, this looks cool, but if we actually made it into a film, people are gonna be like, what happened? Like, what is this about? Why did he do that? I don't get it. It's an action movie, but I don't get it. Even in the cheesiest action movies, you'll see that it makes sense. Except, like, what was it called? Samurai Cop. Have you guys seen that movie? Yeah, I don't recommend it. He's fighting the fight. But there's a movie, and I highly recommend this one. It's called King of the Kickboxers with Lauren Avedon. Billy Blanks is in it. There's a whole purpose behind that. So in the film, Lauren Avedon, as a kid, saw his brother get killed by Billy Blanks. So the whole movie, he becomes a cop. He does this and this, and he finds out that Billy Blanks is this fighter that's killing everybody. So in his thought, my brother, so I'm gonna go travel over here to stop Billy Blanks from doing what he's doing, and that's the story. So when they fight, it's personal. If Billy Blanks hadn't killed his brother in that film, and they were fighting just because, we gotta stop this guy from fighting, like, why? Just leave it alone. So the fight, and when the fight is put together, it's a personal fight. It's not just, I'm going to punch you, cool, you're going to block it, you're going to kick, I'm going to block it. No, it's a personal fight between Lauren Avedon and Billy Blanks in that movie. And you can tell, and not just with the dialogue, cheesy dialogue, by the way, but you can tell that the fight between them is personal, because Billy Blanks realizes, you're the dude's brother that I killed, because he pulls out a picture and says, you've had me in hell for the past 10 years, and shows him the picture. He's like, now I get it, why you're here. So that story alone made that fight real personal. And if that element wasn't there, they would just be fighting and you would get bored with it. And there's a lot of movies where you're just bored with the fighting. So, like I said, Samurai Cop, that movie, horrible.
How not to do.
Yeah, how not to do a fight scene. Anybody have any questions so far? Oh, yeah.
Well, I can think of exceptions to what you're saying. For instance, at the very beginning of Dirty Harry, you have a sniper on a roof. You have no idea what he's doing. He just kills someone.
Yeah.
Now, discovering what is going on with that is the drama of the story. So sometimes, yes, you just have people come out of the woodwork and kill someone.
Yeah. Yeah. And when that happens, of course, the audience is like, why? Why do you do that? And then it turns into something else. You're like, I get it now.
The guy's nuts.
Yeah, that's nuts. And that's a perfect example of storytelling. The sniper, in Dirty Harry. I haven't seen that movie in a while, so I'm trying to think about it. Let's see what other kind of movies that don't involve martial arts. Equilibrium, with played Batman, Christian Bale. In that movie, it's all about guns and martial arts, but it uses his guns mostly. Every single fight is a story, and it's great because he doesn't just walk in, like I said, and shooting people. He's actually using martial arts with the guns, and you know why he's doing it. And in this movie, it's a spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, you're not allowed to have emotions in this, and wherever they're at. So they're pretty much, emotion cops, right?
They're like zombies.
Yeah, they're like zombies. So if you show emotions, then that's pretty much a sin. And so he starts developing emotions. He pretty much goes against his own force, and he's telling the story with the guns fighting everybody else. Like, okay, I have emotions. My kid has emotions. You're trying to kill us, and that's the story. Everything's personal with him. With when he's fighting, when he's using his guns, that's all personal, and it's still a story. Even if there was no dialogue, you can tell what he's doing, and that's important. If this was a silent movie, you'd be able to tell why he's doing it, with the facial expressions. You'd be able to tell the story without having the dialogue, and that's what you're trying to get out of a fight scene without dialogue, and that's very, very important to do. Otherwise, your movie is just a movie with punching and kicking, or just guns, and you want to figure out why, So, anybody else?
And it's got awesome fight scenes. Awesome fight scenes.
Yes. I can't argue with that. Yeah, so also, first, I've been doing fight choreography for years. I've worked with people who just want to have a fight in their movie. I've worked with people who want me to tell a story, and when it comes to the people like, hey, can I punch this guy, or can I do this, and I gotta step up and say, well, what's the point behind it? It doesn't say why in the script. You just want to throw in that fight. Like, what's the point behind it? Oh, no point. I just want to throw in a punch in there to make my character look cool. I mean, I could, but you're going to lose the audience. Just this is a love story. Why would you do that? There's also a time where I was choreographing a big fight scene for a big martial arts film, and the guy who I was fighting, his son was like, I think you should do this, I think you should do that, and I'm like, it's not gonna keep with the story, it's not gonna tell a story if I'm just doing this. He's like, no, I think, and at that point I was talking to his dad, and I was like, hey, look, I know it's your son, but can you tell him to back off a little bit, because I'm trying to tell a story with this fight that me and you are about to have and whatnot. And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, but the fact is, like, I'm trying to tell a story with you because you and your zombie, because the movie I did was called The Z. It's like about fighting zombies, but they're not the normal zombies you see. It's just a hybrid of humans that are super strong and whatnot. But this guy, the story, I just run into him and I kick his butt. That's just what the story is. And behind that is a bunch of zombies came in, crashed a party, and they started killing everybody. So me just coming up to him, taking him out quick, that's part of the story. He didn't want to do that after his son was saying stuff. And he's like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? And it's not going to make sense for us to do it that way. We're not going to have a dragged out fight scene just because you want to have one. It has to make sense. In this story, you're just on the bottom of the totem pole, so that's why you get taken out real fast. And he didn't understand that. I was like, it's just part of the story. I had to tell a story, and I tried to explain that to people. Fighting in movies is not just fighting. I'm telling somebody what I'm doing in the movie and why, so they can understand. It's hard. It really is hard. There's been many times where I've seen even Jackie Chan get frustrated for the same reasons, where somebody is not following directions, so he's either fired them or he's tried to train them on the set, and he does, it's Jackie Chan. He's either going to fire you or you're going to get fired. So there's only one time where I've seen him keep the guy on set, and he just replaced it with somebody else who knew what they were doing, and that guy got lucky. So, and if you have any input or anything, just go ahead and interrupt me. It's fine.
I have a question. What goes into the craft of building a fight scene where you, the director, the writer, are trying to determine what extent of bodily injuries to show and how to show it as a result of the fighting? You know what I mean?
I think I do. So pretty much saying, and let me see if I get this right.
The emotional impact to the viewer.
And how to show it.
How to show it and to what extent. Like sometimes I think they go overboard. Sometimes I think they do it just right.
Right. Is
there a process that filmmakers go through?
Yes, and it's called training.
Very well said.
Yeah. It's what we call selling, like the emotion. You have to sell your emotion, you have to sell the injury. And it depends on what's happening. Okay, so let's just say, what's your name?
Me?
Yes.
I'm Chris.
Chris? Let's just say Chris and I were in a fight scene. Obviously, he's bigger than me, right? So if you were to punch me, my selling would be a little bit over the top because I'm a small guy compared to him.
I see.
You'll see my face contort in a weird way, on purpose, obviously, unless you really hit me. You'll hear me make a noise, as compared to if you were to hit me, it'd be totally different. It's all in the training, it's all in the selling, it's all in the timing also. So if your timing is off with putting together a fight, then people will get hurt for real, and that's why the training is more important. You know?
Yeah, like sometimes I see the camera, like Marvel movies, they make much hay out of physical injuries and what they look like.
Yeah.
And I see the extent of it, and I'm thinking, wow, that's intense, but you ought to be dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
She brought up a good. As I'm years and years out of training and dates, so no, you would have no trouble kicking my ass. However, when I see someone take a cannon punch to the kidneys, I'm sorry, he would go down and stay down.
Yeah.
Instead, he keeps fighting for 5 more minutes.
Right.
And I'm going, how the hell is he doing that?
It's called movie magic.
Suspension of static
So,
shock.
I don't do movies, I write books, but so I have a question. What is a realistic length of time that somebody can fight for? Because, I mean, like
45 minutes of fighting.
45 minutes.
It depends. So, in a real street fight, okay, if that's what you're asking.
Let's start there.
Okay, in a real street fight, 2 untrained guys will probably last no more than 3 minutes.
Okay.
That's even if their adrenaline is flowing.
Okay, and if they've had some training, like
If they had training, since their conditioning would be better, I would say at least they can go about 5 minutes.
How much
Wow.
yelling and screaming goes before it?
Yes.
I actually can provide some input on the length of time too. I watch a lot of like mixed martial arts from not just like American organizations, but internationally, and some of them don't have time limits.
Mm-hmm.
The longest fight that I've seen went 11 minutes, and they literally stopped and took a break in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, the 2 guys were just like, okay, let's take a minute. Okay, we're good, right?
okay.
And like when you involve a weapon, 11 to 14 seconds is typical for like real world.
Wow. So those 30-minute fight scenes are not.
Yeah. That's right.
I was going to say, how much, you say on an unscripted, just a street fight, how much positioning, yelling, screaming, posturing do you put in before that? That leads up to the physical fight.
For a movie?
Yeah.
It's not that you script that out, the posturing and the yelling and what it just comes.
That's the backstory of what had happened.
Yeah.
It's the setup. The story is the setup to the fight.
Yeah. So.
Well, it's like in Romeo and Juliet. Do you bite your thumb at me, sir? Yes, I bite my thumb at you.
Yeah.
All posturing.
Well, you're trying to avoid the fight, right? You're hoping to puff up and fluff your feathers and show your claws if the other person backs down, so you don't have to try and fight for 3 whole minutes.
Yes.
And I forget which movie, but I saw the most beautiful spin kick I've ever seen done by a human being. But I asked my instructor at that time, this is about 30 years ago, he said, would that actually happen? And when he says, never in this world. In real fights, you use small, deceptive, quick movements. You don't leave yourself open
Right.
that long.
Yeah. And that's actually telling the story. You throw a high kick in a real fight, you're gonna go down.
You're
That's your
exposing
story.
everything.
That's why I never throw a high kick ever in a fight. And I've only been in maybe 2 in my life. I never did that. Yes.
I don't know if I'm wording it right, but in
No.
like a fight scene, what is your least favorite injury that people get up from?
The least favorite injury?
Yeah, like something happens to them and they still get up and you're just looking at it like
Like your
no,
pet peeve.
Yeah, like you should be dead or you should be on the floor. Like,
Shot to the
what's
knee.
the worst thing? Like they get shot through the shoulder, but they just get up and they keep fighting for the next 15 minutes.
Yes. The 2 of them actually. So one is the good guy getting shot with maybe like Steven Seagal, for instance. Dude got shot with a shotgun in Out for Justice, hit the wall, and kept coming back and just forgot about the shotgun shot. Like he wasn't wincing or nothing. I'm like, You're not even moving out. Like I don't understand. But it's Steven Seagal. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And the second one is when I see in a movie, the guy, like, you know, the main bad guy and the main good guy fighting, like the good guy or bad guy would hit the other one in the throat, you know, like punch him or one of these, and, you know, backs up, starts coughing, and gets right back in the fight. I'm like, no, I don't believe that.
Would that would just take you down longer?
Oh yeah.
If not kill you.
If your windpipe is crushed, you're not gonna fight anymore.
You get that choking sensation when you try to breathe.
You know, and I see movies where guys get stabbed and have a sword or a knife in them, and they're still going. And it's like, I don't ever want to choreograph a fight that way because I like my stuff being realistic. You know, I mean, I'll probably do some comedy fights too, and I have, but realistically, I'm not gonna have a guy standing there with a sword in his chest and still throwing a punch. You know. But then that brings me to another thing, which is, this is probably off subject a little bit, but the movie The Punisher, the actual movie, not the Bernthal, when he's fighting the guy, the Russian, who was played by Kevin Nash, in that scene, he stabs Kevin Nash right here with a knife. That knife was real. He got stabbed for real right there. And that selling was real. He just looked at the knife and pulled it out. I would have screamed and I would have yelled cut because I just got stabbed with a real knife, you know. And
Near your heart.
what's that?
Near your heart.
Yeah. I was like, and then when I found out that was real, and Kevin Nash just looked at it and pulled it out, I was like, Jesus Christ. You know, and obviously the actor that stabbed him didn't know until he was told, and of course he felt bad, but Kevin Nash was just, you know, he's a professional wrestler, if you guys don't know who Kevin Nash is. But yeah, I would never, I don't know. Yes.
Well, I've seen a movie where the protagonist is engaged in a gunfight, takes a shot here. He goes down. He's bleeding. He's crawling along the floor. This arm is useless, and he's in pain. I went, okay, I believe that.
Yeah, and I like those movies where it's like realistic, and that's part of a real story. If I'm in a gunfight and I get shot, I'm not using this arm anymore because it hurts too much. You know, I'm not even going to use it to reload. I'll find some way to, you know, reload. You know, if I have to, or if I had to use it, I'm going to, you know, do one of these because I've hurt my arm before. You know, we all try and move it as best as we can. But like I said, I need to have realistic fight scenes or something that people will believe. If I'm going to choreograph something with a gunshot and the director's like, well, I want the good guy to get right back up from that bazooka shot to the chest. No, that's not going to happen, sir. You know, or what, you know, this also pertains to action, explosions and stuff, because I've done those too. The good guy is in a building, someone throws a grenade or whatever, blows up the building, and the good guy walks out, you know. I'm not going to say like walks out, but you know, he's fine. There's no scratches. Like Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme, he's a perfect example of something blowing up or him blowing up in something, and his hair is perfect. There's no scratches on him. You know, you don't believe that. That's not a story. You're just saying that he's invincible. There is no such thing as anybody being invincible. In a movie, I don't care if you're an A-lister, at least try and make this realistic. You know, I've worked with A-listers and, you know, like for instance, Michael Jai White. I consider him an A-lister, but nobody really does. But he's such a cool guy. But, you know, he's talking to me, and he's the type of guy that will, you know, not badmouth him. He's a great guy, but he's the type of guy that would hit a stuntman for real, you know. And some stuntmen don't like him. But I mean, Steven Seagal also would hit them, but he would do it on purpose just because he was Steven Seagal. But the fights that he did, he would always say like, you know, I want this to be realistic. That's why I hit them. I'm like, why? Don't. I mean, okay, but still. Like, these guys, okay, they're stuntmen, they get paid to get hit. Not for real, but if you hit them, they still get paid for it. But in order to make it look real, and you should know this, that you don't have to hit them to make it look real. This is selling, But who was I to, talk to this guy that way? He's up here and I'm down here, Did you?
Yeah, talking about realism, a lot of TV shows and probably movies as well, they always want to show the guy run through this with the sword and the sword comes out the back, or they get shot with the arrow and the arrow comes out the front. Is that like, how plausible is that?
Depends upon the arrowhead.
It depends on where it lands.
That's usually the only way you
Yeah,
get
whether or
out.
not it hits rib or bone or whatever. But I mean, it seems like every time it's like, no, all the way through.
That's dramatic.
Yeah, it is.
You know he's not getting up from that usually.
But after some shows, after a while, you're like, yep, I know it's coming.
Just
Right off
watch
the bat.
Just watch Forged in Fire. So
Yeah.
different weapons go through Forged.
That's what I was going to recommend, actually. Is, Forged and Fire, the weapon demonstrations they do, are
Deadliest
really good
Warriors.
perspective on what they do. There's also a lot of demonstrations on YouTube where people do demonstrations with they make ballistic gelatin torsos that have artificial bone in them, and they do a really good job of depicting.
It's absolutely terrifying how he.
So my least
Forged
favorite
in
type
Fire?
of scene is where
For
the
it's
protagonist
It's actually on
is
History
running
Channel.
through the house,
Basically,
being
they make
chased
the
by
weapons, and then they
some guy.
weapons
She picks
expert.
up a skillet,
Test them.
smacks
Usually
him,
it's
and he
on
goes
pig-
down,
pig
and then she
carcasses,
runs.
they string
She
it,
ought to hit him at
and
least
then they
15 more
twist the
times to fill that skillet.
Kick them while they're down.
Exactly.
Or how in bar fights they'll like break bottles over people's heads,
Yeah,
and,
it's cool to
and
see
the bottle will
different
shatter,
weapons work in
but
different
and the person will
situations.
keep fighting. But it's like, no,
Yeah.
you break you hit someone with a bottle. Good chance the bottle's not going to break, but the person's head might.
Yeah.
If you break the bottle, that's a really bad sign.
You never saw Pat's Labyrinth then.
No, true.
From a storytelling perspective, what would be 3 fight scenes in movies that you feel really did a great job of storytelling just within the fight scene?
Just within the fight scene. Oh, man. I have to pick 3.
John Wick.
Yeah, that's one of them. John Wick.
Is there a particular scene in John Wick?
What's that?
Is there a particular scene in the John Wick movies?
The particular scene, not really. It's just his fighting. Only scene I didn't like is the end scene
With the
of John Wick
suppressors?
Part 1, when he's fighting the main bad guy, because he gets hit by a car and he still gets up and walks to the bad guy. That's the only thing I didn't like.
Yeah.
But everything, every other fight that was put together for that that was just spot on for storytelling. Number 2 would be Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. He's on that island for a reason, and the fighting, obviously, phenomenal. And another one would be Jackie Chan's, I think it's called Return of the Drunken Master, or it's one of the, 'cause there's so many Drunken Masters.
I've seen the first 3.
Yeah. So I believe it's that one. I believe it's Return of the Drunken Master. But those 3 would be my top favorite fight scenes throughout the movie. So yes, I love those. And I was going to say something, but I totally forgot what it was. Thank you.
How about your 3 worst?
3 worst fight scenes? Oh man, I want to say, and this hurts to say it, double team with Dennis Rodman and Van Damme. Every fight scene in that one, because I was a big fan of Van Damme, but when they added Rodman, so I'm just gonna say the movie, double team. The second worst fight scene I've seen, well, let's just say Samurai Cop. Everything in that one. And the third, man, there's actually so many older ones I can't pick.
They were forgettable.
Yeah, they were forgettable, and it's just I can't. Do cartoons count? No.
Yes.
Do cartoons count?
Yes,
Okay.
obviously. Always.
All right. So I would have to say then, and it's gonna, and if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. Dragon Ball Z. I'm gonna say what part of the Cell games, if you guys are familiar with that, where he's just squashing everybody, and you guys probably haven't seen, but I know they're familiar with it, right? With the Dragon Ball Z Cell games, it's just a big tournament, and one guy is defeating everybody, and okay, and then it takes a little kid. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Dragon Ball Z, but it takes a little kid to destroy this guy. So it was one of the great episodes of that show. But yes, so those 3 best, 3 worst, and I forgot to add. Have anybody seen the movie Jet Li's The One?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the end fight scene where he's in prison. That one was great, where he's just like, I don't need to know any of you. All you need to know is me, and everybody just starts attacking him.
It was like the most vicious king of the mountain.
Yes, that's what it was.
You've ever, yeah.
And that's exactly what they wanted you to
Yes.
see. Is like, I'm king of the mountain. Everybody's trying to make him, get up there. He's kicking everybody off. So
Yeah.
that when I saw that, I was like, yes, king of the mountain.
Yeah.
That's perfect for storytelling right there. And so yes.
Now, one of the ones that I really like that has a lot of good storytelling and fight is the Ip Man series.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good series.
Yes. It is.
And when he's fighting 10, it's like, how many do you want to fight? 10. It's like, I am going to show you why I will own you.
Yes, and if anybody knows, that is a true story. Hitman is a true story. That's Bruce Lee's master. Yes.
Oh, the other night I was watching a British mystery called Annika, and one of the people, she's an older woman, and they have found the guy, and he's running off. She looks to her younger assistant, goes, "Well, go get him," and he does, and he catches up with him. The protagonist picks up a 2x4. And swings it. In my mind, I'm going, okay, now lean back. And he does. Now he's overextended, get him in the kidney, which he does. I went, who the hell choreographed that?
Somebody who thought about it.
Well, as we were talking about the things that, we don't like that aren't believable, it made me think of Terminator. Because the storytelling in those fights is so well done. When they hit him, and he just looks at them like, what? And they're like, oh, shit, things are bad. And it's just that example of what you were talking about, how they used those, well, he punched through, the windshield and he didn't stop. Oh, he's probably on PCP,
Yeah.
But this, something is wrong feeling because of that. They were really well done. At least the first one.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Like with riffing off Terminator, Arnold, when they were talking about doing the sequels, actually gave advice to the actors that were playing future Terminators. And he's like, one thing you have to remember, when I did the police station scene where he's going through decimated place, you never see him look at his weapon and load his weapon. He's looking around and automatically loading.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's like, because that's what a machine would do. It would not look to load. It would continue scanning for targets, and it would be automatically loading without doing what we do, which is hands follow eyes.
Yeah. Yes, and go ahead.
So I just finished the first season of Resurrection, and talk about swordplay. Oh my God. There's swordplay and horsemanship, the whole thing. Awesome. Swordplay is another really hard to choreograph fight scene, I would think.
Yeah, unfortunately I don't have experience in that, but I know somebody who's he's done the choreography for the movie Hook, and he told me it's a lot to make sure nobody gets hurt. Safely, make sure nobody gets hurt. And he's actually one of the top swordsmen in California, and a choreographer of swordplay in movies. So that's how he got Hook, and one of my mentors who taught me fight choreography, he was actually in the movie Hook with them. And I mean, you can't see him. He played one of the pirates, but he's one of the stuntmen there. And he was like, yeah, like every day people were just swinging these swords around, and I was like, yee. So, but it takes a lot to make sure you don't kill each other. Just like in the movies, like you would see. Let's just take what was that movie with? Oh gosh, he played Achilles. I can't remember his name.
Troy.
What was it?
Troy.
Troy, thank you. In Troy, like when you see all these people fighting the swords in big crowds, yeah, that takes a lot of choreography because there's some are stuntmen and some are just extras in the movie, and you got to make sure that nobody gets hurt. And if you would notice, the camera, it only focuses like on the front of the fights, and those are the stuntmen or the actors that are trained to do it. In the back, you won't really see the focus. Yeah, you'll see a lot of that. You'll see a lot of, but the camera is focused on right here where the stuntman is getting stabbed or beat up over here, stuntman's getting beat up over here. The two main actors or whatever are fighting right here. That's all you'll see, so you won't pay attention to everybody in the background just swinging, the swords.
Can't they use swords that don't have the blades sharpened and stuff, or like really blunt ones?
Yeah, but the blunt ones.
Yeah, but if you can hit
So it's interesting in Resurrection that they have a disclaimer at the front say, no animals were hurt in the filming. They don't say anything about the actors.
Oh yeah, no, the actors.
They can't really say that because that's what we signed up to do.
Disclaimer: many actors were hurt.
I mean, they did that for Roar. None of the lions were hurt, but a lot of actors and extras and the people on set, everyone was mauled by lions at some point. Unrelated, sorry. But so back on the topic of like realistic fight scenes. So obviously we have a lot of things where it's like our hero fighting like 50 guys.
Yeah.
At what point does it get ridiculous? Because a lot of the times in a lot of the martial arts movies, you have the people like shadow boxing, waiting their turn to go fight the main guy, and then they're all essentially just like a circle. Yeah. And we know if a bunch of people are going to fight one person in real life, it's not going to go that way.
Kill Bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, at what point does that get ridiculous? Trying to do
the moment where only one person attacks out of 50 is when it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's another. I have a friend who's also a fight choreographer. That's his pet peeve and my pet peeve. Whenever we watch, the good guy stand in the middle of 50 guys, and they're like, one at a time.
They'll wait their turn.
Yeah, wait your turn. Why?
With a very important shout out before they charge, so they're coming.
Yeah, and you got to shout so I can turn around. And,
well, what about the guys who keep staying, waiting their turn? After he's kicked 10 of your friends' asses, wouldn't you leave? I mean, you'd be like, I have an appointment.
Yeah.
No. You see, the evil boss has, the clear rule: if you run away, you get shot. So take your beating.
Sounds
I
Russian.
saw a movie with Toshiro Mifune in it where he was teaching a younger samurai about not how to use a sword. The guy was obviously already an expert, but how to be in a battle. Because he had pissed some guy off and he had sent 8 of his guards to go deal with him. And he says, and 2 of the guards start to back away, and the young man starts chasing him. He says, no! Charge them. Let the cowards run. Fight the people who want to fight.
Yeah. And for some reason, all of them want to fight. And even though I just kicked 15 of your guys' butts, but that's okay. Yes.
One of my friends has a theory when it comes specifically to Batman, and why he always fights so many henchmen at once, and that is that it's to tell the story that they know Batman won't kill them, but their boss will. They're better off to get their asses handed to them than they are to get killed. So,
yeah, that's
it's an interesting theory.
But it's also it's a little bit of a joke because I don't know if you noticed that I'm not really a big fan of Batman. I'm more of Superman. But the way this is, it's off topic, but it's a little joke. Batman, he will see guys loading boxes into a van and beat the shit out of them until they're bleeding and like spitting up blood. But when it comes to their boss, he's like, I'm just gonna arrest you. Yeah, he's like, okay, I'm gonna do things by the law. And, that's a joke I always have. Like, he'll beat the crap out of his henchmen, but not the Joker.
No, he's going to bankrupt the Joker by having the Joker pay a bunch of medical bills on his poor goons.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, darn it.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Do you have a henchman HMO?
Yes. So, where was I? Oh yeah. So, also, pertaining to everything we've been talking about, not recently, a couple years ago, I did a comedy film, and it was called Phone It In, and it was a story about a guy on his cell phone, and he's just trying to play on his cell phone, and then me and my friends come up and we want to fight him. So he's like, no, I'm fine, just want to play on his cell phone. So what we do to tell a story of like why this guy is so pissed off is we break his cell phone by accident. And so that sets him off to fight all of us. If I had brought my pad, I would show you guys, but I have my little phone and I don't think anybody would be able to see it too good. But you can look it up on YouTube. It's called Phone It In. In the story, we break his phone by accident, and so we're fighting over a phone. That's all this is. But you can tell why we're fighting over the phone, because we broke it. And so at the end, one of my guys drops his phone, and then the guy accidentally steps on his phone and breaks it. And so that's when the fight stops, and we're like looking at the phone, we look at him, and he's like, well, I see you got other things to do, so I'll leave you at it. And so he walks away, and that's the end of the fight, because all our phones are broken. So that's I don't want to say perfect storytelling, but that's what you strive to look for in storytelling. It's all about a phone. We didn't just come up and be like, hey, want to fight? I mean, actually, we did. We said, hey, we want to fight you. He's like, no. Okay, we'll figure out a way to fight you. And so his phone gets broken. So if you look it up, you'll see, and maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't, but it's a comedy.
Do you ever do a scene where two people come up and I gotta get this, and the other guy, sure. Oh.
The fight pause.
I thought about doing something like that. That would be good. Yes.
So in a lot of movies and stuff, you'll have like the protagonist going on like a 48-hour long adventure where it's like nonstop action and violence. How long realistically could someone actually maintain that level of constant combat and running from bad guys and all that? Like
in real life, wow.
Got the amphetamines? I mean,
if you're on some type of drug, you can go for a while, but
you'll crash.
Yeah, you'll eventually crash. But to that extent, it wouldn't be possible. So I don't know how else to say it unless you're on drugs, and you're hooked up out here. I don't know what drug would get you up there, but yes. Anything else? No. Okay. So I think we have enough time. Yes. When it also. I know that we already talked about weapons and like what's the extent of somebody being hurt and things like that. But what I also want to get out in a fight choreography or weapons is that we have to make sure that emotions are there also. Just like you brought up a good point with the Terminator. You gotta know what you're doing. You gotta know what emotion goes where. For instance, if Arnold Schwarzenegger had, looked down and started reloading, well, that just killed the point that he was a robot. He's just doing what he's got to do. If I get shot in a film, or if anybody gets shot in a film, and you just pull Steven Seagal and just go back and then start fighting, that's not gonna fly. If I get hit by a shotgun, I'm going down, then maybe I'll get back up because I'm the good guy in the film. But eventually the way I would have choreographed that fight is Steven Seagal would have went down, and then crawled, pick up his gun again and come back. But instead he just, shotgun, cool. And then, but emotions have to be there. That is key. And if it's not there, it's not believable. You can't sell it. That's one of the things that I learned, and this is the weird way that I learned, that the guy teaching me, he had me punching a bag, and he's told me to talk to the bag, but tell the bag why I'm pissed off or why I'm sad. And this is something that I teach my students now. Like, I need you to punch this pad and yell at it, tell it why you're pissed off today, or anything that's making. And so when I did that, tears started flowing, and I started feeling the emotion. And he's like, there you go. That's what you need for any single fight scene that you're in or that's choreographed that you do. You need to make sure you can put those things together. Why are you punching this guy? Did he hurt you in some way? Did he hurt your family? You need to show that on your face, and that'll tell the story. That'll be the realism of why you're fighting, or why you're shooting somebody, or this and this and this. The realism has to be there. You just can't look at somebody, shoot them, shoot back at each other, and just, without emotion. So if for instance, your name?
Alicia.
If Alicia's back there, and Alicia had kidnapped my daughter, and I'm over here hiding, and we're having a shootout, I'm not just gonna go, you kidnapped my daughter. It's not gonna work. I'm gonna obviously be mad and sad at the same time because she has my daughter. So my objective is to, have that emotion, like, I need my daughter back, shooting at her, where's my daughter? And you're going to see it in my face, and she can, come back, whatever the dialogue is, she come back like, oh, well, your daughter only has like 20 minutes to live. If you even live past this, you're going to see that emotion change from angry to like, holy shit, she's going to kill my daughter. You got to make sure that that's there, and then very, very, very important. Yeah.
I just remembered a stand-up comedian's routine once. He was ex-military, and he goes first into the sergeant giving lecture mode of, the Communist Block 41 millimeter anti-personnel mortar is effective to 20 yards either side of its impact point. He says, now I watch Arnold Schwarzenegger dodging them by 5 yards and never getting hit by a piece of shrapnel. The guy's good.
Yeah, the movie magic.
Plot armor.
So in John Wick, where he goes into the club where the bad guy's kid is, he goes in and you see the emotion when he goes in, but then the action happens so fast, it's just mechanical.
Yeah.
He doesn't think. And when he shoots somebody, it's a headshot. And he shot him once, but then the next one, they're not going to get up.
Right.
It's just so bam, 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 fast.
Yeah, and with John Wick, that's one of the exceptions where he doesn't have to have that emotion because he's a hired killer in that movie. Mm-hmm. So killing people is just another walk in the park for him.
He's turned on.
Yeah, it's just.
Movie, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, it's another Tuesday for John Wick. So he doesn't really have to, he can just walk by, boom, 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 and then keep going. That's John Wick. Of course, it's about his dog, but again, he's a hired killer.
It started about his dog, and then it escalated up through the emotion range.
Yeah.
Things went bad quickly.
So just went from bad to worse, and he's just like, whatever, guys.
He trained extensively with those guns in order to do that.
Oh, yeah. And it takes, and that's another thing. It takes a lot of training too. I'm not, I can't just hire an actor who doesn't have gun safety training or anything. got to make sure he's doing that. I've worked with a lot of actors who've done that, and it's horrible. Like, oh, cool, this is a cool. Don't
Yes.
don't look it down the barrel. I don't care if it's a fake gun. You
You're
know.
off the trigger.
Yeah.
Just ask the folks on the rest.
Yeah. I had a guy who had a shotgun, and supposed to hold the barrel down, but instead he had the butt of it and just put it in like the barrel in the dirt, or just standing there like this. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing? I wasn't even the armor. I was just like, what are you doing?
Loaded up blunderbuss.
So that's why when I work with people, I'm just like, do you have any type of gun training at all? Like, oh no. But then I'm like, you need to go talk to this guy first.
Good, stay away from him.
Yeah, like, don't do that. I just hate when people are like, oh cool, can I play with this gun?
Well, the complacency with blanks is blanks can be deadly.
Yeah.
John Eric Hexum in the 80s. He died.
And if anything gets in the barrel, that's the problem.
Well, what about Tombstone? The fight out a couple years ago, where
That
the
was
guy
a live
thought
ammo
he took
issue.
Yeah.
Our group was there at the parade that year, and we're like, that wasn't a blank. Then we find out that the guy that came had real steel with real ammo in it, because he uses the same weapon for blanks and real steel.
Yeah.
And that's your weapons master's issue. Why was that even allowed out here?
Yeah. Yes.
Also, I've been next to two self-inflicted wound incidences. Both times the people were very familiar with weapons. They were just not careful every minute. Both times they were showing me how to safely unload the weapon. One shot himself with the foot, the other foot, a serious round through his hand. So if you're holding a weapon, all your attention on it. It's like when you're doing a piece of power equipment. Every bit of my attention is on my fingers. Where are all my fingers? Where's the tool? It's got to be that kind of focus.
Yeah.
And that's with any weapons in a fight scene. I mean, like the knife stabbing, it can happen that quick.
Yeah. Just like with Brandon Lee, unfortunately.
He's a pretty good actor, though, because I would at least have gone, ow!
Yeah. I was like, why didn't you yell? But no, he took it like a champ and kept rolling. I was screamed. Yeah.
Kevin Nash had a history of pretty horrific on-set injuries before that. He was, I think it was when he was with WCW wrestling, he had an injury where when he hit the post at the corner of the ring, the padding hadn't been replaced. And he just hit a metal pole, and it broke like 4 of his ribs, and he finished out the match. Right? The fake barbed wire, he got caught up in real barbed wire that was supposed to only be used like on the outside perimeter for the cameras to see, and got cut up really bad by it. I think at that point he's just a tough guy that's used to it.
Yeah.
Like,
that guy did stab.
yeah. Also, he may have had. Did Nash have a history of drug use? I forget. Was he one of them?
I think he might have dabbled, but not as bad as.
Yeah, not as bad as Randy Savage.
Yeah, or Scott Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so we have 5 minutes. Anybody? Yes.
I was wondering, I might have missed this because I was a little bit late, but did you talk about rocket launchers at all? Like where I could find more information about what they would do, or what your thoughts are about how a rocket launcher would work? Because I don't know. I just feel like a need for something like that in one of my stories, and I don't really know much about it.
How to create someone with a rocket launcher, or
yeah, like they're it's in the future, maybe 30 years. So I don't know how much more advanced, but I just was basing it on that concept of they're shooting, right? Mm-hmm. Is that how they were? Like they're shooting these explosives that are landing. How far away can they go, for instance, and things like that?
To be honest, I wouldn't know that answer
Okay.
to that, and I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I can advise you afterwards.
Okay, great. Thank you.
He can advise you.
I know a little bit about those things.
Okay.
Weston Oaks might too.
Who?
Weston?
Yeah,
Weston.
Weston would be a good
really?
resource
Oh,
too,
okay.
although I'd be maybe careful asking him about stuff like that.
Of what details he can and cannot say.
Well, he's just, I think, had a little bit of a rough weekend with stuff like that already.
Okay.
Maybe.
I won't ask him. I'll talk to you. Thank you.
I was at an air show once, and the Army had a center of display things, and I just walked up and asked them about how the weapons work, and they were very forthcoming. Showed the weapons to me, broke them
Really?
down. So maybe just find someone like that
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
just
Like-
give you the information.
Okay.
Like the Army recruiter, your local recruiter can probably point you to the right person if you say, I'm an author and I need this.
Okay.
And there's always YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Type in
yes.
weapon style and then demonstration, and see if you get an official version, or even worse, the
Oh,
local
I'm
version.
sure.
Good idea.
So I've
One of the best fight scenes that I remember was in one of the Bourne movies. Don't remember which one. But he comes back to his apartment and there's somebody tossing it. And so the two get into a fight, and it wasn't anything flashy. It was just these two competent professionals doing their best to try to kill each other with improvised weapons and things like that, until finally, of course, Bourne prevailed.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a real flashy fight. It was just how, at least how I would think
Yeah.
Just
it
realistic.
would go for real. But
But then also, this is another one of my pet peeves. The Bourne movies, you really don't see the action. Like you see the camera, shaky cam, and I'm like, what's happening? I like seeing moves being done. You know, yeah, I don't like shaky cam at all. I had a director and DP like, okay, when you do the move, we're gonna move the camera. I'm like, no, you're not.
Not adding to
You
anything.
can't see anything, and so I'm like, just focus on do a wide shot of the move, and then do pickups and inserts. That's all you need to do. So, but they want to do the shaky cam, and
Well, don't hold the shaky cam against the Bourne actors, though, because they went through serious training.
yeah,
I mean, as far as they were concerned, it was something they really need to look good at.
yeah, they need to look good. You can't see it with that shaky cam, and that's very disappointing. Because I like the Bourne movies, just not.
You don't like that scene.
Yeah, I don't like any of the fight scenes.
All that work doesn't
I've
translate.
got a scene that I'm curious about your opinion on. Have you seen the Nobody movie?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody.
Is
Yeah.
that about the bus
Mr.
fight
Nobody.
scene?
The bus fight scene. What is your
Yeah.
opinion on? Because it seems really polarizing. What's your opinion on the bus fight scene?
When I watched it, I was like, okay. So I can go both two ways. One, not realistic, or two, he should already be done for. So I mean, he goes there, but it's like fighting 4 or 5 guys.
I think it's 4 guys.
Like 4 guys in a little area
On a moving bus.
on a bus, right? If they wanted to, really, they could just doggy pile him and take him out. So, but just the action was fine.
So do you feel like the realism that was sacrificed there for the sake of storytelling was worth it, though?
I guess, kind of, maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah. So so I'm just kind of like up in the air about it, but it was all right. It was all right.
That one and the bathroom scene with Henry Cavill for the Mission Impossible.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was a great fight.
Reload the arms.
Yeah.
Which he explained that in an interview recently. I don't know if you saw that. His muscles were cramping up.
Yeah.
Because they shot that scene so many times.
Yeah.
That he was trying to stretch.
When you get
and
that
then fight,
tendon tightens. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just kept the
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. But yeah.
Gotta reload my arms.
So basically, if you're gonna take anything away from this, if you're gonna do a fight scene, make sure the realism is there, the emotions are there. Obviously, my name is Robert. If you want to hire me to do a fight scene, just make sure that it's realistic and don't just write a fight scene to write a fight scene. So and make sure it has a place in your script. Okay. Thank you. For
Thank you for listening to the Creative Play-In Podcast Network. If you enjoyed our show, please check out D&D Journey of the 5th Edition and Ragnarok Enroll a Scion Hero to Ragnarok Story. Also, check out our Patreon page for more content and behind-the-scenes things, as well as joining us for a one-shot game or two.